former Chairman of Economic Advisory Council to Prime Minister of India and former Governor of Reserve Bank of India, Mr. R. Ganapathy, the Chairman and Non-Executive Director of Trigen Technologies Limited and the President of IIT Madras Entrepreneurial Forum, Mr. Brijeshwar Singh, IAS retired, former Chairman of National Highway Authority of India, Dr. C.N. Gangadharan, Partner, CNGS and Associates, Mr. Arun Ramachandran and Mr. Navanith Ganapathy, distinguished invitees and family, faculty, students and friends. I am indeed extremely happy to welcome all of you for the first G. Ramachandran Endowment Lecture delivered by our Honorable Chairman, Dr. C. Rangarajan, titled 3 Decades of Economic Reforms in India. In fact, MSc is happy to establish this prestigious endowment lecture series with the funding support of Mr. R. Ganapathy and his family members in the name of G. Ramanathan, who had a brilliant career in civil service, and he served as the Finance Secretary of Government of India and Executive Director of Asian Development Bank. In fact, it is our 4th endowment series. Already we have 3 endowment series at MSc, namely Sri R. Venkatraman Endowment Lecture, MSc Sage Endowment Lecture and Dr. Chellaya Memorial Lecture at the Madras School of Economics.
Thank you, Professor Rangarajan, dignitaries on and off the dais. Thank you, MSc, for providing me an opportunity to pay tribute to my grandfather. A grandfather, they say, is one who holds his grandchildren's hands for a while and their hearts for a lifetime. As I stand at his memorial lecture, all I can say is that my grandfather was one who brought in wisdom, happiness, warmth and love on the Indian Government Gazette, GR to his close friends and Tata to all his grandchildren. My earliest memory of my grandfather is a visit to the Taj Mahal. The first time he took a Shatabdi Express from Delhi, a luxury by any standards in the 1980s. It was also a holiday coupled with education. Yes, even at the Monument of Love, he educated me on the history of the Mughals and the Delhi Sultanate. After his retirement, he chose to settle down in Chennai, and I was lucky to have stayed with him in the same compound. I always looked forward to the morning stroll, as he would call his walk. My interest in economics, politics and cricket, I owe it all to him. I loved going to the matches with him because he displayed a childlike enthusiasm. Once, on a sultry afternoon at Chepauk, when we were fanning ourselves with our handkerchief, I remember him telling me not to worry, as the sea breeze would set in soon, and yes it did, as he predicted. His memoirs, Walking with Giants, may have been written during his last days, but those stories which have been recorded by him for posterity were all narrated to me by him during our morning walks. He was a walking encyclopedia, a knowledge bank. A stickler for time, he taught me what it was to be punctual. He rubbed a few of those interests to me, and I got hooked to Fareed Zakaria of the CNN, and of course his keen interest in watching BBC World made me look at him with awe. A grandfather is generally picturized as one who indulges his grandchildren with moral stories from the Ramayana or Mahabharata. My Tata was different, and he was a banyan tree who gave me life lessons by narrating anecdotes from his life, both personal and official. Every narrative would be surrounded by various situations that he encountered and how he found ethical solutions to intriguing problems. These stories were a product of mature thinking later, which helped me in dealing with my professional situations equally well using ethics and mindful thinking. A simple man with few needs, his visits to the British Council Library and the American libraries were his only indulgences. I remember my mother telling me that he wrote a letter to my sister Madhura, who's present here, on her first birthday celebrations in Chennai. He could not attend the celebrations because he was with Mrs. Indira Gandhi in Moscow. He started off by writing to my 1-year-old sister, "I am writing this letter to you from an old city with new ideas. to you who lives in a new city with old ideas. This shows his forward thinking. Today, with 2 school-going children, me and my friends are constantly discussing and debating in our meetings regarding the best curriculum that is suited for students these days. Is it CBSE, ICSE, the IB, etc.? I am convinced that I want to place on record today that if a village school boy can reach the highest portals of the Indian bureaucracy, the curriculum does not matter, but the individual is more relevant. He is a true inspiration. I'd like to take a few lines from the foreword of his book to give an idea of exactly what kind of a person he was. As I lay in bed, recalling my encounter with these famous people of Indian politics with whom I have worked, if I do not acknowledge my indebtedness to them in writing, would it not be a serious act of omission which will be held against me on the day of judgment? When I stand at the pearly gates of heaven, and when I am asked by the great pilot of the Galilean lake what I had done for those who had been good to me, what reply shall I give? I will be held guilty of failure of duty and straightway sent to the Netherlands to keep company with Satan and Beelzebub in darkness visible.
Professor Shanmugam, faculty of the MSc, Mr. Ganapathy and the G. Ramachandran family, members of the MSc, distinguished members of the audience. It gives me great pleasure, I think a great honor to be able to pay a tribute to Mr. G. Ramachandran. I really, unlike Jelly Krishna, got to know him much later after he retired and settled in Chennai. And it's very difficult to sum up his entire bureaucratic career and his career even after that in a few words. But I would like to just point out some of the experiences which I think shaped his thinking. He went to a village school in Thanjavur in the 30s. And these were the years of the Great Depression. And there was abundant rural poverty, rural distress. There used to be people who had just one set of clothes. And there was poverty, there was famine, there was people not having enough to eat. But even then, when he joined the IS and went to Palghat, his first posting, he found that in Kerala, unlike Thanjavur, there was no such thing as rural electricity. And Thanjavur, in comparison to the rest of the residency, was a bit of a pampered area. And he had this great sense of inequality and what are we doing for the poor. At the same time, he was acutely aware of the good and the evil of the British rule. He appreciated the system of administration, system of law, system of commerce. But he was quite aware of the way the British had squeezed money out of the country. I remember once talking to him about the Foundational Reserve Bank in 1935. The British, for some reason, imported an Australian as the first governor. So Osmond Young, Dr. Rangarajan knows this too much better than I do. And the instructions from the finance department at that time were roughly, under no circumstances should Indian businessmen be given loans at low rates of interest. Under all circumstances, British business should be given rates at low rates of interest, the high rates of interest for the Indian business. This was British policy. And at the same time, the exchange rate must be kept in such a way as to be favorable for British exports to India. So we started having an overvalued rupee. Of course, Osmond Young wasn't having any of this. He said, I will not be a chained lapdog of Whitehall. Being a very pugnacious Australian, the British got rid of him. I think he's one of the few governors who's
Mr. Ganapathy, Mr. Brajeshwar Singh, Dr. Shanmugam, and distinguished invitees. I am deeply honored to deliver this lecture this evening, which has been instituted to commemorate the memory of Mr. G. Ramachandran, one of India's outstanding administrators. He had a brilliant academic record, and the students in the 1950s looked upon him as the appropriate role.
Very good. All right.
From a village to the highest office in India in the administrative side, Father was an inspiration to all of us. topping the batch in 1949, he occupied the portals of power in Delhi as a bureaucrat. He passed away at the age of 87 in 2013. A few friends, who included one of India's largest telecom operator, and inspired by the leadership within the family that came, by my brother-in-laws by my side, we decided to conduct a memorial lecture in his honor every year. The first year was kicked off by Yashwant Sinha, the former finance minister, and was followed by the present governor of Reserve Bank, who was then Secretary Economic Affairs. The then Minister for Civil Aviation, Mr. Jayant Sinha, delivered the third, and two of father's friends who went on to occupy great positions of importance in the country, Venugopal Reddy, former governor of Reserve Bank, and N.K. Singh, former chairman of the Finance Commission, delivered the subsequent lecture. The family felt privileged and honored when the Union Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, delivered the sixth memorial lecture. The virtual world saw Mr. Rajneesh Kumar last year deliver the seventh lecture, and it was then that my brother from Palo Alto, California, felt that father's passion for academia being what it is, given the fact that he began his career as a lecturer in Loyola College preparing for the IAS, we should move it to an academic institution. Our friendship and relationship with Dr. Rangarajan enabled us to establish this endowment at the Madras School of Economics. In fact, I was very excited when one of father's very close juniors and his favorite, Mr. K. Venkatesan, the former expenditure secretary, said that it was he, as the expenditure secretary, who cut the first check of 1 crore, so to say, to establish the Madras School of Economics in line of the London School of Economics and the Delhi School of Economics. Therefore, the family feels privileged and honored that we could do it with the Madras School of Economics. And more importantly, the flavor of the whole exercise was when Dr. Rangarajan readily agreed to be the first speaker under this endowment lecture. We also took the opportunity to recognize the top 2 students of this institute with gold medals. This came as an inspiration for us in the family when we saw father's box. We didn't have cupboards then, perhaps, box littered with gold medals that he had picked up around the way during his academic excellence. We thought that students coming out of such great institutions must have something to remember, and that is why in the father's memory we have established the gold medals as well. Thank you.